All right, I might have to go invisible.
All right, everybody. Little technical hitch there. This is take two, but we're going to jump straight into it. It is unusually a Sunday night for the first time, and welcome to the live show. And we've got a brand new host in the house with us. Everybody say hi to Mint Chalk Chip. How's it going, Mint?
Doing good. Glad to be here.
Good. And you guys probably know him from his awesome DSA content in the community. But for those of you who aren't familiar, why don't you just give us a quick intro and rundown on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I've been making content for DSA since launch. Actually, what happened was I was playing another game, Disney Heroes, was very active in the community, decided to start making content for it. And then one of the other members of the community was very active, actually pointed me towards Sorcerer's Arena and said, by the way, they're getting ready to launch. And so I kind of like prepped myself about like a week before global launch. So as soon as launch happened, I was already in like the Discord server, just like jumped right into the game and decided I was going to start making content on it, and slowly started doing more and more ever since. But it's been really fun. I've really enjoyed the game. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we have plenty more to talk about.
Awesome. Great. You still playing the other one as well?
Yeah, Disney Heroes is a little bit harder to make actual content on. It's about like 6 or 7 times the money sink that DSA could ever be. So It is. Ludgate could tell you. We've had plenty of conversations about the game before. It's a really fun game. It's very similar. It just is real time instead of turn-based strategy. But
it's an auto battler though. It's not strategy.
Yeah.
It's not as much strategy.
Yeah, it's still really fun. So I do still actively play it, but I've definitely enjoyed Sorcerer's Arena a lot more.
Awesome. Right. Yeah, everyone keeps talking about that one. I'm going to have to check it out at some point, but there's just so many Disney games. But hey, Lonnie. Hey, that group. Welcome to the show. So, okay, we got tons to get into because they dropped a lot of stuff this week. First and foremost, I think, was this new thing. So, Lud, why don't you go and tell us about what this giant chunk of text is all about?
Okay, so we got a big from the devs thing. It's kind of like a preview of where they want to take the game in the near future. They prefaced it with these are only plans, and it's possible that some or all of these things don't actually ever get added into the game. But that said, I mean, it is rather exciting. I guess we'll just take them from top to bottom. Like the first one, the Conquest improvements. You guys probably have heard, but Conquest actually just recently turned a year old. Like this is the 53rd week of Conquest that we've had, and there have been no changes to it except for the rewards, which have gone up and down, and they've just been changed a few times. So them actually talking about real substantial changes for Conquest is really exciting, especially for the clubs that are stuck fighting the same clubs over and over and over again, because it just becomes monotonous and just like a mirror of what goes on every week. So,
yeah, Titans have pretty much been battling the same 2 clubs for ever, right?
I mean, one of the clubs will change every month or two, but then it's the same two clubs for like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks in a row, and then one of them
Right.
changes, and then the same thing again. It's just always the same one, so it gets a little not boring after a while, but you know, you like to see new faces and you like to see new strategies and stuff, and especially when it's the same ones, like the resentment gets built up. Like we try to minimize it, but like there's been on more than one occasion where us or another club, you know, just starts getting frustrated with it just being the same matchup all the time.
Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna say hi and bye to Max as well. I think it's a little late for him wherever he is. So thanks for stopping by. And I think Mint, people want to know where to find you, and so you might want to throw up a link to your channel there. If not, I will definitely put a link to Mint's channel in the description below when we're done here. So Club Conquest improvements. What are the main bullet points here? Defense teams have persistent health. Club tiers for rewards based on total club power. Oh, so kind of like the more you have, the more you get. Removing auto registration. Uh-oh. That's going to be a problem for some people in some clubs. And save defense team placements between conquest. That would be good.
Yeah.
And mutators on towers for specific team characteristics. Ooh.
Yeah.
What do you think those mean?
Like all of these are really good improvements. The mutators, like the best we can figure is they might have like an Oceanics tower where if you have an Oceanics team on the tower, it gets some sort of buff. Or maybe something else where if you're attacking with some sort of team, then you know either a buff or a debuff or something like that. Just something to make it so you're incentivized to use or avoid specific teams for a specific tower. I mean, that can bring a lot of strategy and interesting things into the conquest, which is great. A couple of the other ones, like save defense teams, that's really just for leaders to save themselves time. Like as it is right now, it can take a while to set defenses every week. Removing auto registration, I love. It's just that extra step to get people to be like, hey, yes, I'm going to be active in Conquest. Because as it is now, unless you've been inactive, as in like not logged in for 2 straight weeks, then you just auto-registered all the time. Right?
Yeah.
And
I know management's an issue. Go ahead, man.
Yeah.
Hey, SHD.
This is something that's in Star Wars Galaxy Heroes that you have to register. So during the registration phase, you actually have everybody register. And the benefit is that then it will actually take into account the number of people that are registered. Because as far as I can tell, it doesn't really weigh how many people are in your club very highly. So like one of the clubs we're facing this week has 39, and then the 2 other clubs, us and the other team we're facing, are full clubs. So they already are at 11. Possibly that's 110 defenses that they're fewer than us if they're using every single defense. So having that, because then that allows them to include something about the number of people registered, would be very, very beneficial to matchmaking. Because some of the clubs that are growing are just so heavily penalized for not being a full club that's almost like not beneficial for you to do Conquest unless you have a full club if you're playing against other clubs that are full all the time.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Club management, I know, is an issue for leaders there. I mean, our offices there's no way to tell who's done a battle, and even if you have, it only turns up in that little chat window if you win the battle. So it's not the greatest way to kind of register who's active and who's not in the conquest. So and Brian's asking, do you think they could keep auto regeneration for VIP or something?
I mean, that's a possibility. They could. My only concern with that is some of the endgame players who play the game a lot more passively than the other ones, and they use VIP as a way to shortcut doing all of their daily stuff. And then giving them that auto registration is also just like an additional shortcut to, I don't have to worry about it. Just tap, 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 okay, I'm done, bye. Right? Whereas a lot of the top clubs are looking for like active people who will spend time in the game, in the community. So I think the auto registration, it kind of takes away from that a little bit. It's yes, they could though. I mean, it's something that it's been asked already to the devs.
Great. So I think that pretty much covers that. Here are some things we're thinking about for Phase 1 Club Con. Oh yeah, so it's all Phase 1 stuff.
Yeah. One thing that I will say is that defense teams have persistent health is something that I feel has been is very needed. It's a little frustrating because at least, I'm pretty sure the Titans are also facing this to some extent, that even if you, like, for instance, have Elsa at the end, just Elsa at the end, well, if you have persistent health, then the next time you face Elsa, she's not going to get her passive benefit right away, and you'll be able to actually take her out. But if you've used like a team that's like one of your top 2 or 3 teams to take out a Frozen team, and you lost because Elsa was able to use her like AoE ability at the end, well, then now all of a sudden someone else has to go in there with another top team, and you've lost 2, even though you were down to 1 character. So I feel like that would also make it so you'd have a lot more competition in Conquest, because you wouldn't just, if you lose, then you have to face the entire team all over again.
It would also make a lot of the pre-launch characters more viable, because as it is now, you can, like, a lot of the upper clubs, not even just the upper clubs, like just a lot of like launch players have these event character teams, and they can just make a wall of them, and the beta characters just can't touch them because they're just not good enough, and they don't have synergy, and it's just something that's really, really hard to overcome. And if you have persistent health, you could say, like, okay, well, there's, an Incredibles team there, and yeah, I already used all my event characters, but I've got, 2 teams of, Sheriff of Nottingham and Robin Hood and things like that, where normally I couldn't compete. But since I have 2 teams of them, I can go in with 1 team, knock out a couple people, and then I can go in with the other team and clean it up. And yes, it cost me 2 teams, but I'm actually able to do something with them now, and I'm not stuck, waiting for someone else to take out that team and expose a tower for which I can attack. Yeah, exactly. Eastman and Kronk. Eastman and Kronk are perfect examples. Thank you, SHD.
I think we read that at the same time. Yeah, and then Lou's saying it's cool to see all the content creators growing together. Yeah, we all support each other. More than any other community for a game I've ever been part of in terms of content creators, like everyone, all the content creators here are super supportive of each other, and we all talk. And from day one when I came in to start doing stuff, SHD has been super supportive of me specifically, and then everything else that everyone's been doing. So it's always good to have him by. What time is it over there, SHD? I know it's always stupid early for Danny, and I think if you're in New Zealand, I'm not sure if that's a slightly different time zone again, or if you're ahead or behind. But thanks for coming in and joining in. So that's Club Conquest update. Then we've got these new event types. What's coming that's new? Continuing to explore the fun event types is something we always hope to do. I'm not going to read everything word for word. Soon you will see additional tower style. So yeah, like obviously the big thing this only 1 p.m. Oh, it's not that bad for you. So new tower style, which is obviously the Stitch thing that came into. Is it really new though? It's basically tower, but not so insanely difficult. I guess until you get to the further ones. But do we like tower as an event style or the hybrid of it?
I'll let Min go first on this one.
A lot of the other games that I play, there's not a lot of variation in the events, that, and the same thing kind of happened up until now with, like, your events are really just, you go in, you pay for all the characters so that you can get to the last one, like the Incredibles, the Lion King, like all the events are very similar. And then they were like, oh, and we're going to add legendary. So that was kind of like a little bit of variation, but it's really good to see that they are trying, and from different conversations that we've had with Meathead, that I've heard Cozy has had with Meathead, that it's pretty clear that they're trying to add a lot of different variety into the game, and this is just like the next step because it probably wasn't too much more work for them to design it. Based on just the mechanic of how they run the game. And so this is a really good step towards adding some of interesting flair and variety, because if they were to have released this event similar to Toy Story, where it's like you farm Gantu from the elite nodes, and then at level 2 you can get Bubbles, and then at level 3 you're getting Stitch, and it's like you have to pay to get enough Gantu so you can get Bubbles, so you can pay to get Bubbles, so you can pay enough to get Stitch. This at least added a little bit more flair. Yes, the requirements are steep, but it's adding this like different way to do it. So it's not just you have to go through like this very static type of thing, and then you eventually run out of chest tokens. So I think that overall this was really good for them to make the game more exciting, and events something that I actually want to work towards, and not just something that I'm just like, oh, they happen every week, I'm just going to participate as far as I can.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, also what I noticed when running through the towers is the variation of the characters that they threw in. There's some really interesting team comps that they suddenly threw in there, and some of them are synergy, and some of them are just characters that you don't usually see as PvE characters. So that was kind of cool. And hey, Lonnie, don't know if I said hi. But yeah, the visuals as well. That beach scene's real nice. I don't know if you caught it because it only seemed to pop up when it was the enemy's turn. But there's the little record player in the corner playing the music. So that was a nice touch. So we got those coming in, and like Mint was saying, it's going to be difficult for them to program in. Like I know Lud wants some kind of raid event, but obviously it's going to take some programming because it's a function that they obviously don't have in the game just yet. So they're they're playing with the toys. I
want one, but I'm not holding my breath for them to release it next week or anything. That's just more of a can we work towards this, please?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it's nice to see them playing with the tools they do have to kind of switch it up and give us some nice new content. So that's great. And anyone notice the visual improvements? They are proud of the way DSA looks, but they're going to keep on improving, which is what we want to hear. And they do have an amazing art team, so I wouldn't be surprised if we got better and better visuals as it went along.
Yeah, that's been something ever since the beginning. Like as soon as the game launched, and I'm like playing through and just even doing the tutorial, like the visuals are so good in the game. I've just been constantly impressed with how fun it is just to watch the game. The abilities that they have are always really fun. Like even just like the little things, like making it so that Elsa like the AoE ability is just so visually impressive when you see it. It's just one of those ones where I've kind of like, man, they're doing a really good job designing the game. I don't necessarily have to agree with every decision they make in how they actually run the game, but visually it's always been very, very good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, they've been subtle little things. They've between beta and global launch and a few times along, they've changed the lighting look as well, which is always interesting. I mean, not everyone's a big fan of that, but
I prefer
used to it.
I preferred the lighting before the last change. I mean, I'm used to this one now.
Yeah, the softer lighting.
But yeah, it's a little darker now. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks a little cel-shaded now, whereas before it literally looked like quite a nice polish, almost like the movie feel. But I don't know. We'll see what they do. They say they're always improving in feedback. So there you go. A little feedback there. Maybe soften the lighting a bit, but we're happy to take whatever you come up with as long as you keep on working on it and listening to everyone. And that group, I think you mentioned, was Titan. He's liking the Stitch Tower, and especially the club. Yeah, the club component part of the Stitch event. We'll touch on that more when we get around to talking about that specifically. Lou just dropped in a quick question. Should he get the claw if I only use it at level 1? Guess that depends if you're having issues clearing Tower 5. Is all I can think of. Guys, what do you think? I think I only have level 1 claw.
It's a pretty good spell. I mean, it really depends on your budget.
Yeah.
I think the additional levels of claw, I'm just pulling it up here real quick, like it only adds damage.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you can afford it, go for it. It's one of the better spells, in my opinion. I don't know if
It's
I'd
one
use
of the
it.
only fast spells that's left.
Yeah, it's fast, and with hero becoming more prevalent, it's good because it does the 2 hits, so it has the 1 hit to clear off an evade stack. So it could come in really handy against hero teams.
Yeah, and it
Yeah, I think
has bonus damage to summons, so a lot of the hero teams use either Pan Shadow or the Cauldron, and so you're going to get bonus damage against those summons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, Lou, you're going to have to kind of try to not split your focus so much and figure out what your core team is and where you're lacking. Maybe if you're talking PvP or just game modes in general, try not to split your focus too much. But maybe get back to us when we get closer to the QA section so we can get through more of these. We got visual improvements and we got more PvE content. So we heard clearly from many of us that we hope to have fresh things for you and your club to do inside of DSA. And the good news is they're actively working on this. And hopefully, for Let's sake, it's some kind of raid as well. When we have more detail to share on the content, rest assured we will. So, yeah, that's a lot. I think this is kind of like a mini Roadhead, isn't it? I mean, we're kind of asking for something a bit like that, like a few other games. And this is basically what they're doing here. They're kind of setting out a clear path ahead of what they intend to do, and obviously addressing points. And we know we're being heard because they're very specifically addressing points that everyone's been giving constant feedback to them on. So that's great stuff. So there we go. That is, and it was tagged as #1. So hopefully there'll be a lot more of these to come. I don't know how often, but we always appreciate the communication from the devs there. So the other big thing that happened, I don't know if I've still got it in my mailbox because it's kind of over now, but was the Stitch event, obviously. So if we get back to that. So yeah, I think Lonnie pointed out it was really cool that they made the design like a sandcastle on the beach. I did like that as well. And oh yeah, also, have you guys been getting these anniversary gifts for the 65th anniversary? Yeah. And every day, it's a daily thing. I was really surprised when I thought it was a glitch the first time I got the second one. So I don't know. Is it gonna go on for how many more days or?
Today was the last day.
Was it?
It was definitely the last day.
Yeah, it says it in the. If you open it back up, it's the 17th through the 19th.
It tells us it was the last one.
Yeah. So originally,
17th to the 19th, right?
Yeah, originally this was supposed to be like a celebration weekend at Disneyland, but given current world circumstances. Yeah.
Fair enough. So at least we got some crystals out of it. That's 65 a day, so that's not to be sneezed at. And then I don't know why this came up. Celebrate today with this free Remy talisman. That was a while ago. This was about that took a week to run down.
That came up on July 14th because that is Bastille Day in France.
There you go.
And so they had Remy as a talisman there, and then they had a pack in the shop that included Beast because those two movies take place in France.
Yes, they do. So I'm going to redeem that now before it runs out. Held on to that one for the show. And so yeah, there was that. And then we've got the Stitch Tower. So yeah, we were talking about that, and we mentioned that a good aspect of that was the club part of it as well. So not only do you get rewards for your individual effort, a lot like the daily quests, you get club contributions as well and can get some extra stuff in there.
Yeah, I really like the club aspect to the event just because it gives people a chance to like work together towards something. Otherwise, the events feel very individual, and there's not a lot to do within the club. You have a club dungeon every day, but that's kind of eh. And then the quests, even though they have club quests, they're all individual quests as well. There's no real like teamwork component to it. And then so really the only true club aspect that we've had until that Stitch Tower was Club Conquest, which is 2 to 3 days once a week.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it's over in 10 minutes.
Yeah. So no, that was nice. hopefully when they're coming up with these new events and modes, there'll be more of that. I mean, it still feels a little detached, but yeah, at least everyone's contributing, and it's another thing that everyone can get involved with. Anything else you took away from the Stitch Towers event, Mint?
I definitely saw that they value gear pretty heavily, because I think now this is where I put on my tinfoil hat and I massively speculate, but Elsa required no gear. It was just stars to get Elsa, and she's easily top 5 most important characters in the game. So to me, it was them kind of saying, I don't want to say that they're doing this because people were able to get Elsa so easily. But if you played through like the last tier of it, as long as you had a decent Kristoff and a decent Anna, it was really not that hard, because you brought in 4 plus 1 other character, and you could literally bring in any other character, and it was pretty reasonable. But this, they're kind of like, we don't want you just to be getting the characters. We want you to actually have to gear them and actually invest in them, which I don't know if I necessarily totally agree with, but it does kind of align with the other events that they've had throughout this whole time. The last tiers of every single event are always locked by gear. And so to me, it was honestly more surprising that the Frozen event didn't require it. So when people are getting upset about it, about the gear requirements themselves, I'm also kind of like, but it's not that different from what they've already done. If anything, we got a little spoiled because Frozen was relatively easy to get as long as you were willing to invest in getting the stars on the characters. And even free-to-play characters can get Elsa probably by the next time if they've been focusing hard on it.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I think we still got to remember we're less than a year old in the game since Global.
Mhm.
So, you know, they're still kind of fine-tuning their in-game economy and how long it takes to get things. And if they're going to keep hitting us with content and characters, then, you know, it's going to leave us with a lot to do. And obviously, probably, I don't know how meta Stitch may or may not be, or, but I think like we were saying last week, that probably from now on, meta teams are going to be some kind of hybrid. So just the more different kinds of teams we can have challenging the meta, it's just going to make it more interesting for everyone.
Well, and this is maybe drawing too many parallels to other games, but for Disney Heroes, that's the reason it's such a money sink, is because they make everything accessible as soon as it's released. If you're willing to spend as much money as you want, you can get everything to max. So, like, I'll say somewhere between a third and a half of everybody in the guild I'm in max out everything within about 4 hours of it being released, because they just, you throw the money at it and you can get it. But the problem is that then the devs see that as, the top players don't have anything to do because they've already maxed out every single character, right?
Right.
And the fact is that they're trying to make it so that their content isn't going to instantly be worthless, because a lot of people, next time Frozen comes around, aren't going to do anything because you can't replay any of the event parts, and you're not going to get any rewards out of it anyway because all you got was Elsa. So there's no replayability, and for all the people that were able to get Elsa at 7 stars right away, like, the event's useless the next time they run it. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make it so that if they're going to create something, they want it to be fun, engaging, and they want people to be able to play it a couple times through. They don't want it to just instantly be useless by the second time that they've played it, because I've seen both sides of that. I've seen games do it where it's really locked, so it's going to be kind of hard to get right away, kind of like what they just did with Stitch. And then the other ones where it's like literally like, we're going to give it to you, you're going to get access to it, and you're just going to max it out within a couple hours. It's going to be expensive, but you're just going to do it. And so to me, the fact that they want to run it frequently means that it has to be difficult. Otherwise, it's not going to be engaging to people. And they found this is really good balance of making it accessible to people. You just had to you could easily go through the first tower, and then you could just be repeating stuff over and over again to actually finish, to get rewards and to boost your club and to do all of that. And so I'm seriously finding that this is enjoyable, because if it comes back even in 2 weeks, I'm still going to enjoy it. it's not going to be like, oh, well, I guess we're doing this one again, and I'm kind of done with it.
Yeah, that was a nice thing. Like, I obviously stopped out where you needed Gantu, but I could repeat the tower. So I had a little fun with it and took in like a weird team just to see, what instead of just taking in my max power team, I took in a really weird assortment just to see how far I could get with it. So, and at least like you said, you're getting rewards and you're contributing to the club stuff. So yeah, it's a step in the right direction because that's what everyone was asking for, and they're obviously taking it. So actually, the towel format is probably a little better than I first thought there. So good stuff. And what else do we have going on this week besides Stitch's Tower? We got the Toy Story Showdown back again. That's something I'm building towards. So I do actually have something to do, but I can understand if you've maxed it out that there's nothing left to do in that. And obviously there's Sally flashing on by in the middle there, which is one of the soft events. So any other big events happening this week, or that pretty much cover the main news for this week?
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
All right. So if we've got that covered, then so if you were with us last week, we did the rundown of characters that had their movies in the game, but did not have all their characters or even their main characters. And we went for all the movies from 2000 upwards. And there's so many of them in the game, thankfully, that we have enough to do a whole part 2 of movies 2000 and back. So here we go with that. And obviously for the arrival of Stitch, this week's quiz questions are going to be all about Lilo and Stitch. So I think I need to call up. Let's get up the first question there as well. So go with a nice easy one. On what planet is the United Galactic Federation's capital? And why are you doing that? Go for number 10 in the list this week, which is the Sword in the Stone. So this is number 10 for the main reason that I really could not come up with enough characters from this film, even though they're in there. We've always got Merlin and Madame Mim, but then we don't have Arthur. But after that, I kind of struggle to come up with any characters that would make up a significant team out of this movie, unless you guys can think of anything.
I think the Sword in the Stone would be an interesting spell, but probably not a character.
Yeah, it seems like this movie's probably like little squirrels. I mean, that those are technically the most major characters, because otherwise, most of the characters in this film are kind of antagonists. So you might be able to get a villains team out of it, but it'd be so generic, a bunch of evil knights and things like that I don't think anyone really wants a Sir Eric. So yeah, that's why this one made it all the way down to 10. And sort of an honorable mention was Sleeping Beauty, because obviously Maleficent is awesome, and it'd be great to get another Princess and Aurora in the game. But after that, then again, you're really stretching for characters to pull from those kind of films. So some of the earlier films in Disney history not making it so far up the list for that reason. It's probably going to be most of the bottom of this is going to be like that, but we might have better luck as we go up the list. So yep, maybe the owl. That was it. That was about the only I knew the name of the owl at one point. Let me see. What's the owl's name? The owl's name is, let's start it up as a quick quiz question. What was the owl's name? Archimedes. That was it. Archimedes was the owl in Sword in the Stone. I don't think anyone's responded to that first question. On what planet is the United Galactic Federation's capital? Come on, Lonnie, it's your wheelhouse here. Going for the quiz. Guys, not up on your
I have no
Lilo and
idea.
Stitch trivia?
Yeah, I have no idea.
I've seen it once.
When's the well, you've seen it once. Yeah, I mean, that one's a little obscure. I usually start with an easy one, so I went straight in with the hard one. The planet is called Toro. Maybe you might think this one. How much weight can Stitch hold? It's a real specific number that they mention quite a bit in the film. And while you guys are figuring that out, we'll go to number 9 on the list, which this week is The Emperor's New Groove. So we obviously have a couple, but we're missing I guess he's the main character, which would be Emperor Llama there. I
Cusco.
don't know if we want that, but yeah, Cusco. And then you could have either or version of him. I guess that would be a costume rather than another character. But again, another film, although great, and
They
with a
could
few good.
they could work out a mechanic like that, like Elsa, where he starts as one and then he transforms partway through the battle under some trigger, and which gives him a different ability or like an upgrade to an ability or something. I mean, they have a lot of
on the other
flexibility
team.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to put together a team here. I mean, Lonnie, may I sit this quiz out? Yeah, it just seems like lots of people have not seen Lilo and Stitch in a while. It's one of those pop culture things where you love him, you see him all the time, but then you realize you haven't actually watched the movie that many times or recently. So yeah, Stitch can hold, I'll just give it to you, 3,000 times his own weight, which is, I wonder how much he actually does weigh because he's quite small, but 3,000 times, he can obviously lift a car. And throw it at people. So yeah, and see, this is the problem line. You literally put Yzma, Kronk, Kuzo, Pacha, and then you had to put Pacha's wife, who's not even like a named character. It's literally offshoot of one of the other main characters. So yeah, that's kind of why they're down at number 9. I think again maybe get a couple of spells out of this one rather than a full team. Unless we can think of anything else we can do with Emperor's New Groove. I mean, there is an expanded universe, but I don't think they're going to be bringing in those guys. Unless we want to add to our creature roster, we've always got Bucky the Squirrel.
He's already part of Kronk's kit, so he probably won't be a character.
See, I'm calling it now. The next meta is going to be a squirrel meta, because we're going to get squirrels from we're going to get squirrels from Sword of the Stone, and then we're going to combine them with Bucky and his entire academy, which he teaches at, and then that's going to be the new meta. You heard it here first.
Yeah, the kids could be added to if you add just Pacha and his whole family, I guess.
Yeah. So maybe let's Shadow Devil and Angel is split. Well, yeah. But again, that's yeah, it's another one which lends itself more to spells than it does to characters. So I think your spell check went Kronos there instead of Kronk. So how much did it cost to adopt Stitch from the shelter? I got anyone in the chats who knows anything about Lilo and Stitch, or we'll just treat it like trivia and I'll reel them off as we go up the list. Up the list to number 8, which is the... Go on.
I was going to answer the question, but I think Brian got it already.
Oh, yeah. Brian got it. $2. Measly $2. So it's pretty cheap. I didn't actually. A lot of the shelters they give them away for free, don't they? But I guess on that island it costs $2.
Might depend where you are. I think a lot of shelters around here do force you to put at least the minimum monetary amount on it, just so like people don't. It just sounds horrible, but just so that people don't like round them up for experiments and testing.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah, because I guess if they make you sign a contract, it's like one of those things where you have to do a deal for $1 or something, or just some nominal value.
Yeah, it was a couple hundred when we rescued our dog.
Nice. Got a rescue. So I was laughing because Lanny put, "Oh God, not the Jungle Book." Yeah, same reason it's low down on the list. I was struggling to come up with a full team there. I mean, there's enough. You could just about scrape a full heroes and villains team out of that. I don't know, because you've got Bagheera and then you got Mowgli. We obviously still have Baloo already in the game. King Louie's kind of on the fence. He's a bad guy technically, but you know, the way he's portrayed in the film, he's all fun and games until all the crazy monkeys come along. So just about scraped yourself a team of 5 there. Oh yeah, if you include Shanti as well, who he meets right at the end, who's barely in the film.
Yeah, and Kaa.
And then you got Kaa the Snake, and then you got Shere Khan, and then technically, if you take all the buzzards, which okay, if Lonnie's not seen Lilo and Stitch recently, I don't know if anyone's seen the Jungle Book recently. Name me any of the buzzards, if you know any of the names of the buzzards. Need King Louie, yeah, that would be a good character in the game. He would definitely have to have some kind of coconut throwing power. But yeah, the buzzards, you've got for those guys. So you could definitely get a team of villains in there, if not a really good spell. I would just love to see them all coming in just as a flock and just pelting you with something. So that would be Buzzy, Flaps, Ziggy, and Dizzy. But yeah, again, not the greatest film to be putting together a team for this game. But I'm gonna assume this is gonna be a pretty difficult question then. What was the headline on the newspaper Jumba destroyed in his cell? Yeah, I think this is gonna be difficult for everyone this week. It was idiot scientist jailed. And just for fun, what kind of dog was Stitch supposedly before being run over? I think that was the excuse for why he looks so weird. Yeah, nearly. Crazy alien escapes from prison, Lonnie went with. It was supposed to be a collie. So why don't we move on up to something that has a little more meat on the bones. So we got the Black Cauldron again. There's plenty of characters in here, but again, it's low down on the list because it's just one of those older Disney films, and it's really obscure. And from all our previous shows, as we know, hardly anyone seems to have seen it. So, but it is still very much available on Disney Plus, so you can go find it there if you still haven't seen that. What's Brian saying? I was in the middle of typing the headline. Oh, Brian might have actually get these. Okay, I'm not going to zip through them so quickly then and give Brian a chance, because this might be Brian's week, seeing as Lonnie's out of this one. Taran, yep, Eloin, Horned King, and then we've got Little Piglet as well.
Yeah, we have Henwin and then Gergi.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like the Black Cauldron it's a really great story. Like the books are fantastic. So
yeah, I mean it's you missed some of our other discussions on the Black Cauldron. It's an old Welsh folktale as well. It's based on that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of mythology and stuff behind it, and I think the reason it's overlooked is because it's just such a weird departure from general Disney fare of that era or ever. It's a lot darker. It's kind of scary in places, especially for a kid. So yeah, you've got Gergi and Taran, Henwin, Creeper. He would, I don't know, spell or a good villain character. And then you've obviously got all the Cauldron born in the game already. So yeah, like I said, the bottom half of this list is a little difficult for assembling a really good set of characters that everyone would want. It's probably a lot further down the line.
Oh, and then
before we get to
you have the Bard too, Fluter.
Oh yeah, and the Wizard. So yeah, you've got enough there. It's just, like I said, it's just not that popular. So, my kid watches Lilo and Stitch more than once per day. Oh, okay. So we've got a die maker situation where we got a parent whose kid watches the movie a lot. So all right, try this one out, Brian. What is the name of the fish that Lilo feeds a peanut butter sandwich to? I'll give some trivia here then. This seems like a throwaway silly thing for her to be doing because it's at the beginning of the film, but it's a deleted scene where Lilo later on takes Stitch to go and meet this fish, and the fish ends up dead, which is when Stitch suddenly realizes that there are consequences to his actions. That's kind of part of the reason why Stitch changes his character and his behavior a little, but that's a little upsetting for children, so they just get out of the film. But yeah, let's see if Brian can get that while we move on to number 6. So this is starting to get a bit more into the more popular mainstream. Oh, he got it! He got it. It was Pudge. Very well done, Brian. All right, I'm going to hit him with the next one while you guys think about what you would like to pull in as a team from Alice in Wonderland. So what kind of destruction does Jumba insist Stitch will do? I love this answer. We'll get to that in a minute. So, Mint, what do you think? Because we've got the Queen, and that's it. So there's the whole canon of Alice in Wonderland to pull from.
Yeah, honestly, this is a really fun one because they already have Charmed in there. So Mad Hatter obviously has a lot. Cheshire Cat, it would be so fun because having a stealth ability that it would be as interesting as what you could do with the Cheshire Cat would just be phenomenal. And honestly, beyond any of that, I actually just think that having like the setting, the background for Alice in Wonderland would be such a cool ad, because they have a lot of really great like settings that you can play, like uh I mean, we already talked about the Stitch one, but having the beach scene and just having some Alice in Wonderland scenes to put behind it, you can do all sorts of really interesting art stuff. So that's definitely one that I feel like people know enough about, but it's one of those ones that like everybody is confident they know that they've seen Alice in Wonderland, but if you tried to like ask them any specific parts of the movie, they probably couldn't pinpoint anything. It's popular in the culture of Disney, but not necessarily like the things that you're watching with your kids every single day.
Yeah, spot on. Totally agree with that. So yeah, yeah, obviously right there on screen, you got a whole team there, which I guess technically would be a hero team. And Brian got it right again. It's so the full thing of it. The question was, what destruction does Jumper insist Stitch will do? He says he will be attracted to large towns and he will back up plumbing, reverse street sign, and steal everyone's left shoe, which I think is really specific and hilarious to me. So there was the answer for that one. So Lud, any thoughts on the Alice in Wonderland team, either villain or hero?
I mean, I think probably a villain team, and I think you could make a lot of fun out of that. Like, it'd probably be the opposite of what you had for the original Toy Story team, right? You have Queen of Hearts as a villain, then you can have like the Mad Hatter, the Cheshire Cat. You can add other characters to it, and then you have Alice as like the lone hero, like going against it type thing. Kind of like how Zurg was, the villain, and Buzz, Woody, and whatnot were all the heroes. But no, I think because they're such crazy characters, they could fit into the game well and just do some wacky things.
Yeah, I mean, they clearly do. Like, in my head, just from an art perspective, like, as obviously all the cards come in when you enter an event level or something like that, and you've got the cards already in the game, the Queen's pack of cards. So I just envision this massive whirlwind of all kinds of cards just going nuts entering into the level, even for the event only. That would be cool. So obviously tons of mythology to pull from there. Thanks, Lonnie. She's got to go. I don't know if she has to go for a dinner break or just actually has to go, because she usually does during the show. We're a bit later today. And also it's Sunday. So while Lonnie's off, I'll throw another question to, seems like they're all for Brian at the moment. Let's see. What does the Grand Councilwoman suggest they do to Earth after Stitch lands? And then we will move on to number 5, which is kind of in there. Although we do have the main characters in the game, it seems to have just kind of stopped there with kind of Oogie Boogie, Jack, and Wendy. So we would need to round that out. So who do we think, guys, is going to round out a full Nightmare Before Christmas team?
I want the trick-or-treaters. They're the best ones.
And Rod, are you a big fan of this film? Or?
There's another Disney film that I've only seen once. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, it's another one of those.
I really don't remember a lot of it.
Not everyone.
It actually wasn't even that my big a cup of tea. Like, I know we probably just lost half our viewers because of that, but that one just really didn't do it for me. I mean,
that's fair enough.
I like Sally in the game. I think she's got a great kit.
Yeah, you got like the trick-or-treaters. You have the mayor is another one, and you already kind of have something similar with Chunk, that he changes his facial expressions and it changes the passive ability, and you could do something very similar with the mayor. So there are a couple other ones. Oh, and then there's also the scientist, Sally's dad. Can't remember his name, but
Dr. Finkelstein.
Yes.
Yeah, and then you've got the mayor of Halloween Town, and also Zero is technically a move right now, but Zero would be amazing as a character. I'm sure they could do something with that just to round it out. But yeah, you got your trick-or-treaters, you got Lock, Shock, and Barrel, and technically you also have Santa Claus, which I'm pretty sure is free public domain character. Can you just imagine getting Santa Claus as a character in a game? That would be amazing. But yeah, there's just so much to pull from. It would be nice to see So that's kind of the one exception where they do have major characters of the game, but we would like to see that rounded out to a full team. So that's number 5. And Brian's saying he can't remember. This was kind of extreme. The Grand Councilwoman wanted to gas the whole planet. So let's go with an easy one. What color is Stitch's blood? As we move on to number 4, which is not quite a movie, but they are definitely in the game. Well, one of their characters in the game. It's a lone character just kind of sitting there by himself, which is kind of sad because, as you guys know, I love me some Chippendale Rescue Rangers. I like Chippendale in general, but Rescue Rangers was always a Saturday morning one for me. And as you can see right there, there's a full 5 team sitting right there for all the main characters. I don't know, Mint, did you ever watch that particular show? Because I know Lud really didn't.
Not
those.
I mean, I watched it as a kid, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah, no, we weren't really Rescue Rangers. I do remember more of like the Tailspin DuckTales, but not really as much Rescue Rangers.
Yeah, same kind of universe. They were all that kind of Saturday morning Disney block. But yeah, I mean, even if it's not Rescue Rangers, it would be really cool to see some more of the core Disney characters. Because I mean, we've only really got Mickey, and then we got a Steamboat Mickey. But yeah, we don't have a Donald, we don't have a Goofy. I don't know if they're going to be able to get the big 4. But if you've got them under the guise of the license that they already seem to have, because they got Monterey Jack there, and then you could get Zipper in there, and then Chip and Dale, we would easily get ourselves a full team of heroes there. So yeah, that would be really cool to see more Disney canon in there, because I know they had that survey and they even put gummy bears on there. So guys, if you're thinking about putting gummy bears in, you've already got Rescue Rangers in the game. You can start working on that. Brian says, is Stitch's blood black? No, it's pink. It kind of goes with black, but no, Stitch's blood is pink. So seeing as we don't have too many Rescue Ranger fans in the house, we'll go into the top 3, which number 3 is going to be Peter Pan.
Yes, now we're talking.
Yeah, there we go. So he seems excited, so I'll let him go. Go for it, man.
A team for Peter Pan? Well, okay, obviously Pan, first of all. He's like a gimme. You could have some of the Native Americans as characters. Obviously, Wendy and Michael would be great characters. You could even have Nana, their dog, as a summon, or like as part of one of their abilities. That'd be really cool. Tiger Lily, I think, would be a lot of fun. You've got Smee that you could add in there. Like, there's a lot to pull from, I think, in this one. You could even add the crocodile if you really, really wanted to.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got the main core cast there. You've got John and Michael and Wendy, and Tink's already there, so you just need Peter to round that out. Also, just because I found this and I thought it was a cool picture, there's another team right there, so you can easily get 2 full teams of heroes right there. When's the last time you guys saw Peter Pan?
About 3 months ago.
Oh, really?
It's been a while for me.
I watch it about once a year. It's a nice short one. It's only like 75 minutes or so.
Yeah. It's the nice thing about some of the early Disneys, they're kind of short.
It didn't age very well, mind you, but other than that, it's fun.
Yeah. Can you name any of these Lost Boys?
No.
No.
They do actually have names, but they're also nicknamed after the character, the costumes that they wear. So you got the raccoon twins, you got Fox, you got a bear, you got a skunk, and you got a rabbit. So yeah, there's those guys there. So what about? I mean, like I said, we can get the heroes. So Mint was saying we can get Croc in there because that's obviously a major character in not only the film but in Disney lore. So, and then we've already got Hook. I guess Shmi. I mean, I guess he's a sidekick of the evil guy, so he would go along with the villain there. And there's a couple generic pirates in the game already, so you could just about scrape a villain's team there out of that one. Any other thoughts on Peter Pan in the game?
I feel like they did a pretty good job with the spells, so I appreciate the work that they've already put into getting some of the other stuff in there. Because I mean, we hadn't like talked about it too much, but they do use the setting pretty effectively with the clock tower. Just having all this stuff just there, just make it fun. I feel like they have other stuff for Disney World in there already because they have Splash Mountain and they have something for Big Thunder Mountain. And honestly, Peter's Flight is one of the most iconic Disney World / Disneyland rides. Even if it's not necessarily like the one that everyone just like goes to, it's pretty iconic. You can make something.
But it is. You can tell from the immense lines, always lines. That is something that has to be fast pass these days in almost every Disney park. It's always insanely busy, even like way up to closing when you think all the families have gone home and whatever. It's still like 45 to 60 minutes minimum. It's insane. But yeah, especially in, I think Disney World and Disneyland recently updated them as well. So even the queue line that you go through, it's almost a ride in itself. They got cool little interactive games, almost like Connect, where you wave in the air and you can interact with an interactive wall video screen thing, which is like the kid's bedroom window. It's so good. So people actually line up in that just to go through the line, and then the line gets held up because there's so many interactive things to do in the line. And it is literally, they've made the Darling's house, almost like recreated it as the new line. So that's really cool in the parks. So yeah, and then number 2, I'm just going to flash these slowly. I'm going to scroll up the quiz. I think everyone but Brian has given up on the quiz. Fleeky's last first name is Wendy, randomly. And then, this is a generic question. What animal do you think Captain Gantu is supposed to resemble, seeing as he's in the game now? It's something I'll take a wild stab at. See if Brian gets that. Well, we go into number 2, which is Hercules.
Pegasus. That is all.
Yeah.
Really? Just Pegasus? They can.
Everybody's good. It's just, man, Pegasus.
Pegasus is awesome. Yeah, Pegasus is really cool. They could bring out the Centaur as either like a PvE character that they add in, or even just a collectible character like Gantu and whatever. I think the Hydra would make a really cool raid boss.
That's what I was about to say. That seems like they would release Zeus as the raid reward character for beating the Hydra. I mean, that's how they do it in a lot of other games, where the raids directly are like the made way of unlocking a certain character. So I don't know. That would be an idea if they had it.
So yeah, last week we were going on about our little equestrian origin that we won in the game, because we have so many horse-based characters, or four-legged friends. That's another meta that has to come around, is all these cool kind of sidekick horse, or in this case Pegasus, and then Centaur is Philoctetes, I guess you're referring to, and then Meg, and then obviously you've already got Zeus in the game, but not out, so that you definitely have a full hero team from Hercules there. But yeah, the event would be pretty good, and it would be a good candidate for a raid. There's so many things you could do with Hercules, and obviously one of the more popular, more closer to modern. As I said, the last week was 2,000 plus, and these are all 2,000 behind, but this was pretty close. This was the late 90s, so very beloved kind of film. They need Pain and Panic. So if we're going down the route, we haven't done the villains yet. You've got Pain, Panic, and we already have Hades. The 3 ladies that share an eye, the
Fates. The Fates.
They know everything.
And the Muses.
Yes, we know you know. Yeah. That would probably be a spell, right?
Yeah.
Or would you have the Muses sing at people to have some kind of vocal projection attacks, or be major support characters? But yeah, I'd probably go with spell for the Muses. And then, yeah, I think that would be pretty good villains. Pain, Panic, Hades. We're still short, though. We need another 2.
You can pull from any of the Titans that are in the game.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Or in the movie, sorry.
Got 3
So there's what,
Um,
4 of them?
Yeah, 4 main titans. And then Hades, dog, Cerebrus. Yeah,
You have the
you could have a 3-headed
Cyclops
dog.
too.
Ooh,
Yeah.
yeah. See, there's no end to this. So, yeah, I probably want to see a decent event. Maybe that would be Lud's first raid. That'd be cool because you'd have so many stages and bosses for that. You could basically just run through the story of the film. It'd be good, and then we could add to our equestrian stable. Question, Lud: would Philatites go in the equestrian stable, or does he count as a more humanoid character?
He would count as a more humanoid character. I think the difference between him and the centaur is the centaur has 4 legs, whereas Phil only has 2. So he's judging by the size of his legs and the size of anything waist up, he's more human than not.
And the fact that he actually does look like Danny DeVito.
Yes.
Awesome. Let's see. Brian said shark. I know everyone goes for shark, but Gantu is actually modeled after a whale. So there we go. Yeah.
I guess he'd look kind of like an orca if the orca was all one color.
Yeah, if you look at him, I mean, because he scowls a lot and he's kind of aggressive and he has that kind of like pointy nose. But yeah, if you look at him, he's at the front of his head is kind of more a wider circle, and it's a bit more whale-like. And obviously he's one of the good guys, so they made him more passive than a shark. What movie was playing in the window when that Stitch was coming? I don't think anyone's gonna get this. Everyone, it's when he's playing.
Gantu's a villain in the game, though. He's not a hero.
I guess. Well, I mean, he works for the Earth Defense Force. It's kind of like Stitch. He's chasing. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking wider universe. By the time they get to the Defense Force, he's kind of just the butt of all of Stitch's jokes because he's easy to make fun of. Although technically he's a good guy because he works for the Galactic Defense Force. Let's see. That was Earth versus the Spider, not Godzilla, as most people think, because Stitch obviously makes that little city. What kind of box does Stitch sleep in? It's more of a Hawaii-based question. That's a bit of a clue there. While we go on to... What do you guys think number 1 is then? Can you think, from all the things that are in the game that we've mentioned, what's left?
I'm trying not to cheat by looking game.
Oh, you can't look at that game. All right.
That's right. I'm trying not to.
It's going to be obvious, and I'm going to feel stupid. So let's just rip off the Band-Aid.
There you go.
All right, here it is. It is Beauty and the Beast. I put it at number 1.
True.
This is probably. I mean, obviously, I made up this list, so there's so many reasons why this.
Wait.
Number 1 because
we have the main character from Beauty and the Beast. We have Gaston.
Yeah, that's for a villains team, but we have absolutely no heroes, so we all know what side of the fence Lud falls on.
No one dominates DSA like Gaston.
Was that true at any point in the beta?
Yes, he was so meta for a while. Oh my god, yeah. For a while, the meta team was Ariel, Buzz, and Gaston.
Ariel, Buzz, and Gaston, that's a weird...
I mean, Gaston does have his blinds, and Buzz does have the stuns, so...
That's back when healing was relevant, so Ariel was really good. Plus her purge ability, you could line it up to hit all 3 of the characters. And then Buzz, his stun was an AoE, so you could stun 2 to 3 enemies each shot. And Gaston could blind the front line while damaging the back line. Plus, every time he did a basic attack, he got a little bit of a shield. He had crazy sustain. It was if you go back a year, that was a great team. Until Genie came out, that was the team.
All right. So apparently, no one did dominate DSA like Gaston.
That's right. First
okay,
meta.
So on that. Literally first meta. Wow. Okay, so on that theme, then, who would you round out as a set of villain characters from Beauty and the Beast?
You need a whole 5 villains. I don't know if you can get 5 villains from Beauty and the Beast. You obviously have Gaston and LeFou.
Yep.
Some of the people who were in the mob, I guess, but none of them were even minor characters. They were like cameo players.
You have the I don't know how much though, based off of like the newer version of it versus the older version of it too. But you do have the. I guess that'd be more of a spell, which would be the guy that's trying to take Belle's dad to the crazy house.
Yeah, but yeah, we're kind of reaching for villains. It was the same problem. But I mean, like I said, who else do you need when you have Gaston? So no one villains like Gaston. Maybe you can just like clone him, and then it'll be a team of 5 Gastons, and he'll return to the meta. So obviously, then heroes, we have to have the Beast and Belle. That's the Beauty and the Beast. And we've got Wardrobe in the background there. Already in the game as PvE.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they would you want that as a playable character, or I mean, if you're gonna have inanimate objects, you've obviously got Cogsworth, Lumiere, and Mrs. Potts and Chip, and then you already have too many for a team because you've got Belle and Beast. So I would assume, for me, I would say Chip and Mrs. Potts would be kind of like a dual character thing.
Mm-hmm.
Where they come in as one, but they're obviously both there. Or Chip is a move for Mrs. Potts. Then you could easily make Lumiere and Cogsworth a character on their own.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wardrobe can stay as PvE, and then you've got Beast and Belle, and that's a pretty good heroes team. Is there anyone you can think of that you would bring in as part of a heroes team there, besides those main characters?
Did we mention Belle's father?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That'd be a good one too.
I don't know what he would do, but
he could. Oh, you mean that huge? I can't remember what his invention was supposed to do, but that huge thing that's on a cart that just kind of.
Oh yeah.
And that, I think he should just like set that off, and it can chug across the screen and blow up or something. That would be a good special move. A good pull there. I couldn't really think of anyone else. I mean, there's obviously any one of the enchanted objects you could pull in there. But yeah, that's a pretty solid heroes team, and unfortunately, there's not that many other villains in Beauty and the Beast. Event-wise, how do you think they'd come into the game?
I mean, I could see them being in another tower event like Stitch.
Yeah.
I could see them where you have probably Belle be the prize, make her good, and then have her be the last prize, and then you'd have Beast and one other one as the farmable ones that you need to get up to her.
Yeah. I think you could probably release the enchanted characters as the free-to-play farmables, and then maybe, like you said, have Belle's dad and Beast. I guess you would have to wrap in Gaston in there somehow because he's already in the game.
Not necessarily. If you made it like Heroes exclusive, he wouldn't have to be in the event.
Oh yeah, Heroes journey, I guess.
Zurg is not part of either Toy Story event.
Yeah. Good point. He's randomly off with the Queen of Hearts, so.
Yeah, we don't talk about that
because they
logic.
don't have any Alice characters. Yeah. Because they don't have any other Alice characters to play around with. So I'm wondering if that is a licensing thing, because they are such iconic, like I said, Disney sort of icons rather than just for themselves within the movie, that they go on a lot of merchandise and stuff, that they can't quite swing that for the game. But the only one they could give them was the Queen of Hearts, because she's hardly on anything.
I mean, I don't know how it all works. I know that I mean, it also might just be that they just don't have a good enough idea on how to develop a real good kit yet. They might have who knows what kind of mechanics they'll try to implement in the future. And then they might have a space for actually adding some of the characters. I mean, I feel like that's probably all the other hard part, is that they want to do the characters justice. They don't want to release a character that falls flat if it's someone that everybody loves. So.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw last week's show, Mint, but this was the top 10 from last week. So we have 20 potential events and teams that could come into the game. So we're obviously not lacking for content and possibly licenses that Glue already have. Out of these that we just went over, and if you can see this part 1 from last week, what do we think the next possible one's going to be? Because we obviously just got Lilo and Stitch. So any guesses or preferences on what you'd like to see next?
I mean, I feel like they did Hero just so that they would have something to introduce Tech as a new like whole background, a whole new set of characters. So, I mean, in all honesty, I would like it to be Big Hero 6 because it feels like they've kind of set it up to be that. But personally, honestly, of the list, I think the ones that would be the most likely or the most interesting would probably actually be Inside Out, because you could instantly just add a whole team and make one of them just a legendary character at the end, similar to how Frozen works. So
that would be Joy, obviously.
Yeah, it'd have to be Joy.
Yeah.
Or, well, I mean, there's an argument to be made for Sadness, but yeah, it's pretty much for game wise, it'd have to be Joy.
Mm-hmm.
Lou would like to see either Hercules or Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, see,
Blood would too.
Mm-hmm.
Lou knows what's up.
Yep.
It's funny you bring up the tech tag, because when they added Mulan right at launch, they introduced a princess tag, and she was the only one to do anything with it. And they haven't done anything with it since, and it's been 4 months.
Yeah. So that's also going to be, I guess, people might be asking, why is Mulan not on this list? Because, again, it was going to be one of the stretch, and they've already had an event. So,
well, I don't know if I'd call it an event, but she was available.
the first time.
Yeah, but
even the first time, I wouldn't call it
an
event, because you weren't doing anything outside of your normal day-to-day farming, right? She was brought in the same way that they brought in Frozone during the Incredibles event, where it's just do your farming, you get extra coins for stuff that you were normally doing anyway, and then you use those coins to buy a pack. And if you want to whale on even more packs, then go right ahead. Sorry.
I will say I'm pretty bummed that they haven't introduced another character through that.
Really?
I mean, I thought it was fun. Like, I thought it was fun because basically it doesn't upset what you're already working on. Like, for instance, I have everybody at 7 stars except for Olaf right now, and I'm in the middle of farming Olaf. But then they're like, by the way, Stitch Tower coming, and we're going to make you have to get Bubbles and Gontu. And I was like, great. Well, I'll have to put this on hold to see if I can at least get any progress so I could actually progress in the event. Didn't end up getting to progress very far in the event. But the point remains, like, having the event so that I didn't have to change what I was already doing and I could still get more rewards. I thought that was pretty nice.
Yeah,
but
fair enough. But if you have like a standard event, like the Incredibles event that you didn't have to, Incredibles might not be a good one. The Lion King event where you didn't have to farm anyone. It's still something extra you're doing and doesn't take away from what you're already working on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're falling prey a little bit there to some split focus and panic farming there. But obviously Stitch worth panic farming a little bit for. But obviously you're not gonna whale out on those packs unless you really, really want them. And we obviously don't know how good and how influential Stitch is going to be. Because I think Meathead came in here last week and said obviously they're going to go for balance with a lot of the new characters. And Stitch, as far as I know, is not being billed as legendary. So the idea that he might be challenging Frozen, it's probably unlikely. He's more of a, I think he's a kind of test case for...
No, I think...
Oh, you think so?
I think the 3 Stitch characters from the early stuff that I've seen from non-maxed ones, I think they're going to give Frozen some problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been able to see some testing with a lot of people using bubbles pretty effectively. You had to have them at T7 to finish the event, so there have been a couple T7 7-star bubbles that I've run into, and Bubbles has actually been very, very good. He's been super frustrating to go up against. I've seen,
and no one has a max Stitch yet.
Yeah. The thing is, like, a lot of the I've seen a lot more use out of Bubbles than I've seen out of the other two, because Bubbles is you can plug him in pretty easily. So they're using him to grant tactics to Elsa, which has been pretty effective. So I've seen like a hero Bubbles plus Anna, Kristoff, and Elsa, and that's pretty hard to beat if they're back. If you're facing them at the same kind of gear that you're facing as well.
I wonder about taking out
Right.
Kristoff and putting in someone else.
I haven't seen too much with Gontu, but that's probably just because people have been like, the only ever time I see a lot of testing is in PvP, and people tend to still stick with the classic handful of teams. So
Yeah, Arena's boring for that reason.
yeah. I mean, I do like that they added the ability to challenge defenses, but the problem is that if I don't have a max or even a lot of abilities, at least to invest heavily into Stitch, Bubbles, and into Gontu, like, I'm not going to be able to get very much out of the testing, unfortunately. I will say, though, the thing that frustrates me the most out of all of them is that getting the ability upgrades on Gontu is very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It was awful, because I was like, oh great, like I can get like the first couple levels of upgrades on some of the abilities, and even the basic level 2 is requiring betas right away. Bubbles, one of his level 2 abilities requires gammas, so I'm kind of like, I don't have the ability to upgrade any of these. It's pretty rough. I don't know if you have either of them, so you can actually see what the ability upgrades are.
No, but I pulled it up right here. So which ability was it?
So every single one of
oh yeah, look at that.
Yeah, if you do call
50 gammas just to go up to level 2.
Yeah, so in order to
weirdly no gammas to go up to level 3.
Yeah, so it's another parley type thing, but it's just it is rough. And every single Gontu ability requires betas. So if you don't have a stockpile, it's going to be so hard to get them to where you can really start to test them. Because if you don't have the gammas to do that one, then you're not going to get the silence, and that basically makes that ability useless because you're not going to get the most out of it. So there were in that way, it is kind of frustrating. That was probably more frustrating to me than anything else, was that I can't really test them at low stars and low gear because their abilities aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Anyway, that was my own little personal gripe with the
so character. So Gontu's abilities, they all take, so far the max level 3 is 25 gammas. Yep, 25. Oh, and his final one, it's 25 for level 2 and level 3. So, yeah, kind of expensive.
Yeah.
But that's an awesome model. He's huge.
It is really cool.
He's a whale, so
yeah.
Yeah, it's so yeah, cool armor. He's got his little gun there. Actually, his gun looks huge. I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be the same gun that Stitch is carrying, but if that was the same gun that Stitch is carrying, that gun must be massive. Nope, Stitch's guns are tinier, even though they're the same kind of gun. Nice. So yeah, actually, what is Stitch's abilities? Let's see, what do they take? They nope, no, not on his basic.
The really good one is that his arms are super fun. But he's a little more reasonable. The first two don't require betas, but the second two do.
Oh, what is weird is I can't actually look at what the requirements are for Stitch, but I can look at what the requirements are for the other two. I wonder if that's just because he was in the game for so long as a card that it's kind of bugged or not unlocked like that, or it literally wants me to get him up to the next gear tier just to see what the cost is going to be. But yeah, so well, I mean, this is what we were predicting. That's what Meathead was saying last week. They're looking for balance. Obviously, not every character is going to be legendary, but with enough theory crafting, and what we were saying is everything's going to have to be a bit of a hybrid team now. We're going to have so many fun little mixes to play around with. So yeah, maybe you don't have to split focus. You just get to pick which one of these new characters that you really like the most, and then chase after them. And at the moment, it looks like I don't think Bubbles is anyone's favorite character. Well, I could be wrong, but yeah, Stitch does seem to be looking good from the footage that I've seen. So yeah, anything else to wrap up on Stitch or Bubbles or Gantu?
Nope.
I will say, and I don't know if you've been able to see any of this be tested, Ludgate, but in theory, when you're looking at the kit, the whole point of Stitch is that he does more damage as the enemies are getting charged. So the idea is that he is a direct counter to Gantu, because Gantu is granting charge, but then you're also getting it from Hero. So in theory, like if you did have a good Stitch that you could be using, then that's the kind of stuff that he would be useful for. But I haven't actually seen enough testing, and I haven't seen anyone be using it effectively, just because most people are using Hero have like him already at T6 at least with 7 stars. So it's kind of hard to test with a 2 or 3 or a 3-star Stitch. So, but I mean, in theory, that's kind of like what the kit's built for. So hopefully with future runs of the event, we'll be able to get a little bit more, get Stitch leveled up and geared up a little bit more so you can actually test it against there. But in theory, that's what it looked like it was going to be doing.
Yeah.
Right. And Lud, how often do we think the event's gonna be coming around?
I'm thinking every 2 weeks or so.
Oh, okay. That frequent.
Yeah.
Where do we get that info? Or was
Oh,
that
there's no
suggested
info.
anywhere
That's
in
just
the
pure speculation.
speculation? So
Yeah.
that would be nice. Yeah, from the format of it, it does seem like that should come around fairly often. I'm gonna go burn through these questions because I got the viewer questions underneath all of this. So, Stitch sleeps in a pineapple box. They live on the island of Kauai, and he gets a job at the general store. This one's quite a nice bit of trivia. This pops up quite a lot as an Easter egg in the film, the number A133, which is actually the classroom of the California Institute of Arts that the director was part of. So that number comes up a lot in the film. Let's see. We can skip all of those, and we'll see if you guys know this one to round out the questions. What other Disney film has multiple Easter eggs in Lilo and Stitch? You guys might not have seen the film in a while, but you might remember seeing those little Easter eggs. Maybe Brian's still around. Maybe he'll know. What other Disney film has a bunch of Easter eggs in Lilo and Stitch?
I have no idea.
Yeah, no,
No idea at all. It was mostly Mulan. There's a lot of Mulan references
Really?
in Lilo and Stitch. Yeah, there's a Mulan poster that it shows up a couple of scenes. You can see it in Lilo's bedroom, and her and Nani walk past a restaurant called the Mulan Walk.
Oh.
So there, yeah, and also there was another one that is in there. There is a Dumbo. There's a stuffed Dumbo in her bedroom as well. So yeah. Oh, then there's one other interesting one that I thought was worth mentioning. There's a scene where Lilo hides in the dryer, which was cut out when it was aired for TV because I'm sure there's been an incident of people putting pets or little children climbing into dryers. So, but when it came out on Disney Plus, they replaced it, and now she's in a cupboard. Yeah, they actually replaced it when it came out on Disney Plus. Instead of just like cutting that scene out, the scene is back, but it's been replaced with a cupboard with a pizza box attached to the front of it, I would imagine too. Yeah, so if you got Disney Plus and you're gonna go back and watch Lilo and Stitch now, look for that scene because it's a random cupboard with a pizza box attached to it now, which I guess is to kind of cover up the fact that it has a large dryer door in front of it instead. So there you go, some random factoids about Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, no, they also, I don't know if this is one of your other questions, but they also edited another scene when it came out.
Which scene? Do you know which scene it was?
Yeah, so at the end, when Stitch is trying to land the giant ship, it actually originally went through a city, but between the time when it was a theatrical release and when it was
was it because
DVD
of the
release,
9/11 thing?
9/11 happened. So then they
it was originally a 747.
Yep, 747 going through a city, but because of that, when it came out, it was the red ship going through the mountains.
Yeah, it's Gantu ship basically, because Stitch likes stealing Gantu ships. It's something he does to annoy him. And then I think last week we mentioned that Big Hero 6 was the only Disney film ever to not have title sequences at the beginning. Lilo and Stitch was the last Walt Disney Animation Studio film to have full opening and closing credits. And I don't think they've done it since then. And it is also the only non-musical Disney. It's the 5th non-musical Disney animated in Disney animated canon. The other ones being Black Cauldron, Rescues Down Under, Treasure Planet, and Chicken Little. Oh, that's more than 5. Sorry, those are the ones that came after it. But yeah, it was the 5th one that was not a musical as such, where people didn't break out into song, but was full of obviously Elvis songs. So question-wise, we only got one this week from in the chats from Crispy Fett, which is there any discussion by the developers for extending the turn limit and time limit in Sorcerer's Arena? Fighting frozen teams with Pan and Golden Hammer almost always result in timeout losses now. Simply not enough time with all the summoned trolls, shadows, and resurrections. So is that something you guys have run into against frozen teams?
No.
No.
I have only ever timed out once, and it was when I was testing a Dr. Facilier summons, just like, you can't beat me because I just have too much sustain team. That is the only time I have ever timed out. Now, I will say that I don't run a frozen team, so I don't spend a lot of turns building up the things. I don't get into frozen mirror matches, and I do tend to run very aggressive speed damage teams, so my fights tend to be over quickly because I either get out ahead of you and take you down, or I get frozen and then I just get boxed up.
Yeah.
But to me, the turn limit is not an issue.
Right. So, Crispy Fit, it looks like you need to get some high DPS out there, and that might solve your frozen issue. Obviously, if you're being outpowered by the level or stones or whatever it is, that might be the problem there too. So I think that's all the questions for this week, unless you guys have anything to add.
Nope.
I think I'm interested to see what the next thing that they're going to be doing this week. I don't know if it's going to be necessarily anything new as much as maybe some balance. I'm hoping it's a little bit of balance because there are certain, like I have seen a lot more kind of what the question was getting at, that if you put Hero onto a frozen team, it's very, very difficult to beat because you're just going to stack evades, and if you're facing if there's a mirror match of a frozen dash Hero versus another one, there's no chance you're going to finish that battle in the requisite number of turns. If you have Pan Shadow and Golden Hammer on that team, you're just I've seen people with like 55 stacks of evade, like you're not going to get through it. So there's no chance that you're going to be able to finish the battle either way. So I hope that they realize that that's a problem and they try to balance it at least a little bit. If anything, I hope that they make it so there's a max stack on evades, but I don't know. That basically speculation is that this is going to be a quiet week, that they're going to bring back they're going to rerun an event that we haven't rerun in a while, and then they're going to do some balances to spells and maybe do a couple characters and call it a day.
Right. Lud, what do you think's coming up this week?
I am expecting a little bit of a quiet week. I think we're going to get some sort of rerun because we just got the new Stitch Tower, and then the week before that we got Hero. So that's I feel like that's a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
So I think I'm kind of feeling an Onward rerun, to be honest.
Yeah, it's been a while. Are you still wanting dad pants or not so much now that it's been tweaked?
No, not so much. I'm good.
Not unless you
Feel
have a.
better about that.
It's one of the few spells that I don't have max, so I probably will still put some gems into it just so that I can say I've got it as well. If in case it ever becomes like OP again. But yeah, it's not a high priority for me anymore.
Yeah, Dad Pants is still very good if you have a maxed onward trio, but if you don't have that strong investment in the onward trio, it's just not going to be worth it, because the whole point is that you want to grant Ian and Barley the unstoppable and the undefeatable. In addition, the best chance of you actually getting the silences you want require you to have onward characters. So if you have it, like I don't, and so I'm not gonna be too worried about it because my onward characters are not super great. But I know that it's still a viable counter to Frozen, and if you play it correctly, there's still a lot of use out of using the trio together and using Dad Pants as part of it. Do I really think that it's worth the requisite amount of money to actually get it to level 4? No. I think that you get to level 2 so you can do the offense. The chance of applying offense down 2, and that's probably the most you're going to need out of it, even if you have a really good onward team.
Right. And hey, Edie, he came a little late there. He says he times out against Frozen teams most of the time. So I don't know if you caught the question from Crispy Fett there saying he does as well, but I don't know what tactic you're doing. Also, is it Ed or Ed? Because every time I read that, it's I think it's like a kind of RoboCopy reference to ED209. So I call you Ed, and I'm pretty sure that calls you Ed. Figure out how to type that into the chat to explain which one it is, because you're just going to be typing ED over and over again. Yeah, ED, see? There you go, I knew it. Is it a RoboCop reference? Or is it just one of those things? Super enthralling for everyone else. So there it is. Sorry you didn't catch most of it. You can always watch the replay, Edie. We covered pretty much everything there that we wanted to cover, and that's hopefully we'll have those are his initials. There you go. So now that we cleared up that mystery, I think what we'll do is we'll sign off for this week. Thanks for joining us again. Hope you guys enjoy what is now a massive top 20, I guess, of new teams. Let us know which ones you're excited about coming into the game and how you'd like to see them coming in. Thanks for joining us, Mitchot Chip. Hopefully you will do it again and be another one of our regulars. Thanks, Lud, and we will catch you all next week.
Yeah, thanks as always.
Thank you.